I remember the first time I told you, and then you started crying, and I said, Jessica, what's the matter? And you said, I had a brother and I'll never meet him.
You used to get really upset and you started crying because you were upset that you never knew him. Yeah, I remember that. You used to get so upset. You're so sensitive. You were so sensitive. Not that you're not still really sensitive, but you were like really sensitive. Like, sorry, it's not our fault.
You always had such a adult way of looking at things. I had a brother and I'll never be able to meet him. You were so sad that you weren't going to be able to meet him.
My favorite memory of Jacob before he got sick was him chasing Jackie around the living room and just watching that, having a blast watching that. He just learned how to walk. And we had like a little center bar that you could go around in the living room. He was like chasing around in circles. And that's probably my nicest memory. I mean, I always look back at that, and it makes me smile.
A little bit. I remember that we used to play. I remember the old house that we used to live at, and I remember I used to chase him around the coffee table.
These were his favorite little stuffed animals, but he did have a favorite show. It didn't even last on the air that long. It was something stupid about a big stuffed animal that walked around. I don't really remember it because wasn't on TV that long.
I'm sure Mom and Dad.
My best memory is like Sandy Jackie. You leave that as chasing around. It was so much. I mean, it was really, really cute.
We also watched what Jackie watched, which was Fraggle Rock, and I think that was it. Fraggle Rock was the one that he liked.
And the best memory I can remember when he was sick is when we took him to what's it called? The Branch Heart Pits. I mean, it was okay. I mean, it was just a good memory, because we went around he was in his wheelchair and everything. But I remember that as a really, really good memory also.
I don't remember them telling me he was sick. I just remember what happened was I started spending a lot of time at Grandma and Grandpa's house. So I would stay the night over there, and I'd spend more than just the night. I'd spend several nights over there. And I didn't really know why, but it was because, Mom and Dad were at the hospital. So I remember doing that, but not really knowing why I was doing that.
What happened was, I don't even know if you know the whole story, but first they told us he had spinal meningitis, and so he was going to be paralyzed.
He was almost, before one, he started walking, he was pretty good. He was running around. And all of a sudden, one day, just wouldn't walk. Just wouldn't get up. This is weird, How come he's not walking today, So I took him to the doctor. Oh, okay. We'll take an MRI. Go through the MRI machine, the scanning machine. Back then, it was a very, very big machine. And you had to sit still for 20 minutes in the machine. So we brought him, and it was a portable machine at St. John's. So we bring him down. It was every Tuesday the machine was there or whatever it was. I don't remember exactly what. So we brought him down on Tuesday. We gave him a bunch of medication, and when he couldn't sit still for more than 2 minutes in the machine, I don't even think he got in the machine. He was so much pain, So come back next week. So we go back next week. Come back next week. So we did three times, actually, I think, 2 or 3 times.
We went and had another ultrasound. Well, no, what's it called? The MRI at Children's Hospital, and because they couldn't get him to hold still for this one because it was too much. It was too painful because the tumor was crushing his spine.
Hospital. And he went through the whole. He did it. So, we were so relieved. Oh, thank God, Jacob. Was sitting still, and we could see whatever was wrong with him at the beginning was wrong. So we get home. We're driving home, and we're kind of relieved that he could do it. We get home. And they say, we'll call you in a couple of days with the results, And I know when we get home, and as soon as we open the door, Donna says, "You got to call the doctor right away. The doctor's been calling for you."
We took him to Children's Hospital. And as soon as we got home, we had a phone call from the doctor saying, "You have to come back in the morning. He's got this large tumor in his stomach." And we were just excited. He was able to get the MRI done.
So we found out that Jacob had a major tumor. It's like that, and so it's I mean, it's like your world's coming to it. You just can't believe it's happening to you,
So then they told us after a lot of surgeries and puncturing him in the lungs, and without any anesthesia, they just took a tube and punctured his lung so that it could drain fluid. Yeah, it was horrible.
The worst memory is when Jacob was his last few days, and his lungs were filling up with fluid. And so they said, what we have to do is we have to put a tube in his lungs, put a tube right through his lungs. And I don't think we really wanted to do it, but and it probably, he probably lived another day because of what we did, but it really wasn't worth it. But we didn't know that back then. I mean, the doctors tell you to do something, you do it. And I know it must have been so, so painful for him. But the doctors told us to do it, so we did it.
And then I remember going to the hospital and visiting him and like going in the playroom and that kind of thing. He wouldn't play in the playroom. He was too young. I would play with the other kids and like the siblings of the other kids. For me, it was fun playing in the playroom there, I don't think I thought it was like really sad to be there. Because probably I didn't really understand. I don't know. So I don't think for me it was, obviously it's sad that it was for mom and dad to be there.
Then they said, okay, he has about a year to live. So what you can do is if you learn how to, they said to me, if you learn how to work an IV, you can take him home. And he probably has about a year to live. So here I am, I just work at a grocery store. So they taught me how to hook up his IV so that he could be fed, that it was a tube going into his chest. And we got him home. And I come home, and he's going, Mama, night-night, night-night, night-night. I'm going, what's going on? And he looked really weird. He was standing up in his crib. Or no, he was sitting there just going, night-night, night-night, and his eyes were kind of rolling back in his head. So we called 911, and what had happened was the tumor crushed his spine and was traveling up to his brain, and he was going blind, and he was dying. And that was just one night of him being home after being in the hospital for, a month and a half. And they put him in the room, and they come out and they tell Dad and I, they said, your son's dying right now. And we said, what? We thought we had another year. I know, I'm going to start crying. So then they said, I said, well, we have to talk to our doctors at Children's Hospital. This isn't right. They told us we have a year. We need to talk to they said, well, you need to make a decision right now because we need to stick a respirator down his throat or he's going to die, and you have to tell us what to do. And so we couldn't get a hold of the doctor, and Dad and I said, you know what, this kid has been through enough already. Just let him go, And so we opened the curtain to tell him we don't want to do it, and they said it's too late. We just stuck the tube down his throat.
I'll just tell you that the one thing that was really, really good during the whole time was all the support I got from that. Lori and I, we both supported each other, like full on, and we got so much support from especially Grandma and Grandpa, and I don't remember. I'm sure her parents support, but I just remember all the support my mom and dad gave us. I was supposed to be working in the store, and I probably went 3 or 4 months straight without even working at all. And it was like, it's not important. What's important was Jacob. And I look back at that, and I'm glad I get to spend the time with him. And also, the support that Lori and I gave each other. I mean, we couldn't have did it without each other, I don't think, And, bad things happen like this to families, and more times than not, it splits up the family. It really does. But I know if anything, it made Lori and I stronger together.
He was in ICU, and it was just horrible. They said, oh, we want to stick a shunt in his head. And we're like, no, we don't want you to do anything else to him. This is it. He's been like a pincushion. This has just been, the last 2 months were just horrible. This poor kid, just let him go already. And they said, well, the shunt will just make it easier. So if he does, when he does pass away, it'll just take the pressure off of his brain. So I said, all right, but that's it. I don't want anything else done to him. So they put the shunt in his head, and he was in ICU for like a week, I think. And then he went to a hospital room, and he had his second birthday in the hospital room. And then he died 2 weeks later.
And I remember when he passed away, like the moment that he passed away, like we were all in the room and Dad was holding him.
And then, of course, I remember Jacob died. He died in my arms. And I remember his last breath.
He was dying, too, because I was holding him. Dad and I would take turns holding him. We knew he was going to die. I mean, it was like his heart rate was so low, and he just kept fighting it, and we just like...
I remember in the hospital, and a lady was working there in the radiation part. And she said her son passed away from of cancer. She says he passed away like 5 years ago. And she says, you know what? There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about it. And she's right. There's not a day goes by I don't think about Jacob. Not one day.